Investor Intelligence provides general information only. You should consider seeking independent advice to see how this information relates to your unique circumstances. Please refer to the terms and conditions available at investorintelligence.com.au for more.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Investor Intelligence, brought to you by the team at the Property Mentors. It's your weekly podcast for all things investment and hosted by me, Phoebe Sikowski-Wallace. Joining me today is our in-house investment expert and just all-round great guy, Luke Harris. Hi, Luke.
Hey, Phoebe. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So I'm excited to have you here today for today's topic because it's a little different to what you and I would usually sit down and talk about. But before we get into that, let's give the listeners a little update on where we as an office have been recently and what we've been up to. Would you like to?
I'll give a hint that we went to Thailand and it was nice and sunny, and we're in Melbourne now and it's raining outside. It's meant to be spring, but it's quite cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't trust the weather apps, so don't even bother with those. But yeah, we were so lucky to go to Thailand for 6 days. Warm weather. We got to meet elephants. We went on a boat tour. Pretty much massages, I think, just about every day. So we're very lucky to do that. What was your highlight?
You forgot to mention the cocktails. I think.
Oh my God, sorry. The cocktails.
The whole team had a bit of fun checking out Thailand. Some of us hadn't been to Thailand before, so it was a really good trip for everybody at the Property Mentors to go and enjoy some sunshine and have a bit of a break before we step into the last part of the year. And
we missed all that horrendous rain that was happening in Melbourne too, so pretty good timing.
That's it.
But we're very grateful for that trip, so thank you so much for that. So look, today we are talking about being a tightarse.
That's it.
So we recently published a fantastic article on this topic called Your Guide to Being a Tightarse in Tough Times. So that's obviously very fitting for now, you know, with inflation remaining stubbornly high and interest rates increasing. People are really feeling that and, you know, the costs are kind of adding up. I mean this in the best way possible. And no, you won't take offense to this because you encourage people to do the same. But you are not only an expert in investment, but you're well-versed in being a tightarse, not in the sense that you don't like to spend money, but in the sense that you're always looking for ways to save money where you can. Is that a fair statement?
I'm a tightarse. I've got no issue with that. But you're right. Like, I've got no issue with spending money. There's no problem with spending money. But I think from a very young age, I learnt that it's very easy to waste money.
Yeah.
Easy come, easy go. So, you know, if you don't care about your finances, it's very easy for other people to care more than you, and all of a sudden it evaporates out of your hands into somebody else's.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people really weren't taught things like the value of money when they were young, and that has kind of carried over into their life for sure. I know so many people who can't save to save their life, essentially.
100%. And the thing is that, you know, we don't get taught this stuff in school, and I had to go out of my way as a teenager to learn about money and learn about saving and how I could, you know, really understand the world as far as money and currencies and savings and lending and all of the financial side of it, budgeting even, you know, things that you just really don't get taught in school.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to proactively seek this stuff, and most people don't do that or don't understand that they should do that.
For sure. And we definitely live in this sort of instant gratification world where we've basically got everything at our fingertips. We can order clothes, we can order groceries, you know, the latest tech gadgets, but just about anything else. And that sort of I need it now mindset, but that's also kind of the mindset that gets a lot of Australians into a lot of debt.
Well, it's actually been planned that way. It's not that I need it now, it's I can get it now.
Yeah.
So that was not set up because the consumer wanted it now. It was set up because businesses thought, hey, everyone's got the ability to order something from their phone while they're sitting on the couch, sitting on a train, you know, sitting in an airport lounge waiting for the plane. Wherever you are, you can now buy something.
Yeah.
Whereas previously you had to actually go to the retail store and you had to go and walk in and actually purchase it. But now the business world has found a way to get in front of us 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's made it a lot easier for people to buy, and it's also made it a lot easier for people to buy things that they don't want or don't need.
So they've purposely made it too easy.
They've made it too easy, and we've fallen for the convenience of being able to order anything you want.
Right.
Food delivery, clothes, like you said, anything that you want, really. You can sit on your phone and order it from your couch. And, you know, there's even alcohol places, they deliver within 2 hours.
Less.
You know,
Depends where you live.
You know, there's food delivery.
It's 2 minutes where I live. So.
Well, that's it. You know, the food delivery, you can have anything you really want, any food type. In most areas, you can get, you know, within 30 minutes, you can have any cuisine if you live in a capital city. And, you know, there's a lot of convenience associated with that, but often that means that you're spending more than you really should be.
Yeah, it's wild. And then when it comes to investing, not only do you need to have funds available to do so, but you also need to make sure that your financials are in order, you know, have a good credit score, have little or no bad debt, and also have a bit of a financial buffer. So what kind of comes to mind when I say that?
Well, one of the first things when you're talking about a bad debt is things like Afterpay and those consumer type debt products where you can actually go and buy something now, and when you get paid in a few weeks' time, you can pay it off. But you're always playing catch up with things like that. So even though it's an easy option, it's been designed to be easy so that you can buy things that you can't necessarily afford. If you don't have the money in your bank account to buy it, don't buy it. You know, so it's something that I learned from a young age as well, is that if it goes up in value, buy it. If it goes down in value, lease it. So something like a car, for example, you can lease it. If it's technology equipment, you can lease it. If it's a business expense, it's tax deductible. But for most people, it's too easy to go and buy something that depreciates in value, doesn't go up in value, doesn't add to your net worth. Things like clothes, new phones, any new tech that comes out. There's always new tech coming out that people want to buy the latest headphones or whatever it might be.
Yeah, must have the latest.
And yeah, that's all great stuff. But the thing is that it's not going to add to your net worth, and it's certainly not going to help you build wealth. So understanding how these, you know, I guess small purchasing decisions can affect your long-term wealth, it's extremely important that people really put things into perspective. So, you know, if you're looking at new headphones, there, you know, you can buy them for $50 off eBay, or, you know, Big W, Kmart, they have cheap options. Sure, the quality's not as good, but, you know, if you go and buy the new Apple ones, they're $899. Do you need that, or is that really going to affect your ability to save for a deposit?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people now, and I've got friends and family and other people close to me that fall into this trap, that they're always either paying off a previous purchase that they made, or they're paying off a credit card where they've put a big ticket item like a washing machine or something like that on the credit card. And it's really hard because you get into a trap of always paying things off or always saving for a small item. So if you're looking at a new laptop, it's $1,000. You save up for that, you go buy that, or a new TV, or these things that break, right? They don't last forever. So a lot of tech companies, they've got this planned obsolescence built into their whole business model, in that a phone is only meant to last you 2 or 3 years, and a laptop is only meant to last you 2 or 3 years, so that you can buy another one from them. And, you know, years ago, you know, a TV, it was built with actual timber. It had a wooden frame around it. You know, these things were built and they'd last forever if the tech was able to. But, you know, things like software upgrades and things, they're built into the whole system in this consumer market that we're in, so that things do have an expiry date, so that you have to upgrade, and there's, you know, software that doesn't work anymore. If you still had the original iPhone, the case is probably working still, the buttons probably still work. If you haven't cracked your screen, that probably would still work. But the problem is the software and, you know, the battery life and things like that. There's things that need to be upgraded that they just don't work anymore. So that's all built in to the system. And I think this is why a lot of people fall victim to always having the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily need that. It doesn't help for your long-term wealth creation.
It's so funny because I think everyone actually knows that. I think they know that phones and tech is actually designed to not last and to basically just get worse as you use it.
A friend of mine in Perth, he every time there's a new iPhone, guaranteed he's taking a picture of his old iPhone. Not sure how he does that with his phone, but he's advertising it on Facebook because he's selling it and upgrading to the next one.
I know a lot of people that do that.
And maybe there is some sense in changing it over before it gets too far out of date. But things like that, always spending $1,800 or $2,000 on a new phone, it doesn't make sense if you're not in the position to do that financially. For some people, that's a huge chunk of their annual income.
Yeah.
And mind you, we're talking after-tax income here. For most people, if you're a business owner, it's a different story because it's most likely a business expense. But for a lot of PAYG employees, and especially for people that are listening to this that are wanting to build a portfolio and invest, really need to be mindful of where your money's going.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things about being a tight ass is understanding where your money's going first. Where do you actually spend your money? Where's the leakage and the slippage? Where are you wasting money? And where can you get some efficiencies on what you're doing to try and get ahead? Because I guess the tough part about investing is that if you haven't got started with your property portfolio, or you haven't, whether you're buying shares or whatever you're going to invest in, it seems daunting for a lot of people because it's such a big thing to actually do. Saving a deposit for a property is really hard to do. Prices keep going up and interest rates and so forth and inflation. There's other pressures on people being able to save that deposit. And when you're looking at, the ability to go and buy a new phone or a laptop or a plasma screen, they're LED now, LED TV or whatever it might be, or even book a holiday or something, it's a small win, right? It gives you that gratification right now that, I've been working for this whole month and I haven't done anything for me, right? So I'm going to go and buy a new TV for the bedroom, or I'm going to book a holiday to Bali or do whatever. And, you get these small wins throughout the year that sort of make all of this worthwhile, right? I'm going to work every day. I'm, slogging it out every day. So I'm going to treat myself. And that's what a lot of people end up doing because they sort of need some pleasures for the work that they're doing. And that's an emotional decision that people make. And they say, well, I'm earning all this money. I'm going to spend it, right? After what's gone on my electricity bill and they keep going up, rent keeps going up, all these other cost of living pressures, food keeps going up. So a lot of people are seeing these pressures coming straight out of their bank account and they're going, I need something for me. I need some gratification for me, something that I can actually reward myself for all this work that I'm doing. And this is where people will go out and they'll get frustrated because they want a new car, upgrade the home that they're living in, maybe rent something a little bit nicer or buy something nicer. Get in this trap of constantly upgrading various parts of your life and never really actually getting ahead.
Yeah.
And it's really hard if you haven't actually got a grasp on where your money's going, because if you can't measure where your money's going, you can't improve it. You can't change it. And so really understanding where your money's going, doing a budget and knowing where your finances are at any point in time can allow you to have that first step to making better decisions.
Yeah, so practicing delayed gratification is definitely something that a lot of people could use.
Yeah, practicing, but also understanding delayed gratification. Now, so like I said, saving a deposit for a property is very hard. But, if you're in this cycle of working really hard, seeing all of your, when you get paid every week or every fortnight, your money goes towards your rent, it goes towards your food, power bill, electricity bills, all of these things going out. You've got your insurance on your car. By the time you go through that whole process, there's not a lot left. And this is where people will say, well, I deserve a new TV, or I deserve a holiday, or I deserve this. And that's where the money goes. Now, it's hard to break that cycle and get ahead. And I know a lot of people in this situation, it is tough. Don't get me wrong, it is tough to go through that, because if you are putting in big hours at work and then you're coming home and out of your pay every pay cycle, there's not much left. How do you break out of that? So the way to do that is to understand your living expenses. Maybe you're renting something in an area that's costing you too much. It might be time to change to another area. And I don't mean that everyone should just pack up and go because their rent's too high. But at the same time, it's understanding how your goals fit in with your current expenses.
Yeah.
So if you've got really big goals and you want to get your first property and you want to get started in investing, well, maybe you shouldn't be spending, 40% of your income on rent. And this is where you have to make a decision. I'm not telling you that you should go and rent something cheaper, but you need to put things into perspective. So if you want to really get started in investing in property, then you need to do everything you can to get that deposit as soon as you can. The longer you wait to get started on that journey, saving $50 a week or $100 a week, it might seem like it's going to take forever, but you've got to have a day one. You've got to get started. And, just saving that first $50, $100, $200, it might take you a while to get to $1,000, might take you a while to get to $5,000 or $10,000, but there's things along the way that you can do. Like sharing your Netflix account, right? Yeah. Find a mate that's got, maybe a slightly higher income and borrow their Netflix account and say, hey, I need some help for 12 months. I'm trying to get ahead financially. Can I borrow your Netflix login? Those little things that, $11.99 a month or whatever it is going out of your bank account. It's a very small amount, but it happens regularly. Yeah. And a lot of the time people will have that, but then they'll have 5 others as well. And that turns out to hundreds of dollars a month going out of your bank account. Yeah. So those little things that you can do, it all adds up. And especially if you're trying to save with what you've got now, you might not have a huge amount left now, but imagine if you could go through all of your expenses and try and find an extra $50 a week that you're already spending. You're giving it to someone else already. So if you can only save $50 a week yourself, try and find where you're spending money now that you could save another $50. Yeah. Because you're already spending it. So it's not necessarily about finding money that you don't have. It's finding money that you do have, but you're giving away.
Great. So I have a couple of questions from everything you've just said there. Speaking of deposits, talk about how you saved for your first deposit.
So, mind you, this was a while ago. We're talking over 20 years ago now, but the process is still the same. I was 19, ran my own business in Perth, and what I did was I worked my butt off. I was working, 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week to try and get as much work done as I could so that I could save. So I was doing everything I could proactively on the income side of things to get as much income as possible. On the other side, on my expenses side of things, I was trying to minimize my expenses. So you've got to try and tackle this from 2 different angles. 1, get as much income as you can, and 2, minimize your expenses as much as you can. If you're just trying to do one, it's going to take a bit longer. Yeah. Right? So there's no point in doing an extra shift at work on the weekend if you then go shopping and waste all of your money, because you're not being smart about it. So I was self-employed, so I had the ability to go and work more. Some people might be on a fixed income and not able to go and just do more shifts or get more hours. But, there's plenty of gig economy type things. There's Airtasker. You've got probably skills that you can use there. Things like, driving Uber or DD or something like that where you can go and get some income. Those things are good. But for me, when I was saving my first deposit, it was really just hustling in my security business to get as many hours done as I could there. On the expenses side of things, I was able to save money where getting into my first property, I knew that it was going to be a huge deposit. So I really ate basic food. I was 19. I didn't really care so much. But, I didn't go and buy the most expensive stuff. I really bought the cheapest meat that I could afford, and I could, ate a lot of pasta. Mind you, my metabolism was different as a 19-year-old as it is to now. But, I ate a lot of really basic food. I didn't go out. I bought drinks to have friends around at my house to have drinks there before we went out. A lot of friends would go out and they spend hundreds of dollars night clubbing and at bars. So all of these little things that I did was little efficiencies to try and save money along the way. So that I was increasing the income, reducing the expenses, and just really, what we say is head down, ass up, saving my guts out. And I just saved and saved and saved. And I knew that I had an end goal, and I made sure that I didn't lose focus of that. Yeah. And I think the hardest thing for people is that it feels like it's going to take forever to get that first deposit and really get your first property. And it does take a while. I'm not suggesting that it's going to be a get rich quick, or you're going to, get into the market in 6 months. Sometimes you might have to save for 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 years to get that first deposit. But the thing is, you've got to look at this on a whole life perspective and look at your age and go, well, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? And if I don't do it, who's going to do it for me? Nobody. So you've got to make that decision as to how important this is to you. And obviously property investing can give you some amazing results over the medium to long term. but it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
So some people would hear that and kind of hear, oh, you've got to almost deprive yourself of a lot of things. So for those people, kind of what would you say to that? And in sort of following from that, what is that difference between, say, like investing money and spending or play money? Like, how do you sort of strike that balance? Because you don't want to have to deprive yourself and eat, cheap meat all the time.
Well, yeah, and when I say cheap meat, I wasn't eating like the gross parts of the animal. I was still getting, but I looked out for things that were on sale, and like with the shopping, the supermarkets will discount meat at a certain point. Half price chicken or whatever because it's the last day before it goes, skanky, I would take it home and just cook it straight away, So there's things that you can do there, but look, I understand people listening, they're probably going to think, well, I don't want to deprive myself from everything. I don't want to live off 2-minute noodles and things like that. You don't have to. The thing that I want to point out is that it's completely within your control how you do this. So like I said earlier, is if you've got big goals and you want to get this done quickly, it's like pulling a Band-Aid off. Right, you can do it slowly and painfully as it pulls out all of the hairs one by one, or you can do it quickly and just get it over and done with. So you might say to yourself, if I just save and really go hard at this for 2 years, right? Not forever, but if I have an end date of 2 years, I'm going to be really careful with my money. Maybe I'm not going to book any holidays for 2 years. I'm just going to travel locally and do a couple of weekends away, maybe go camping or doing something that's not going to cause you huge financial concerns. And maybe for 1 year or 2 years, I'm just going to go really hard, make as much money as I can, maybe do some side hustles, for example, going to save as much as I can and just minimize my expenses. And it's a 2-year time frame. Now, 2 years is just a guide, but you might actually say, I've got these goals and these goals are so important to me, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Right. And so you might say, I'm going to do everything I can. So I'm going to cut off Netflix. I'm going to reduce my phone plan. I'm going to just all these extra expenses that I don't need, I'm going to get rid of them. And, if you've got a house, a lot of people have got a property that they're in, maybe they can rent out a spare room or other things that they can do. But if this is really important to you, then you've got to focus on that goal. Right. Not suggesting that you have to eat the 2-minute noodles, but there are moments where you might have to just tighten things up a little bit and actually go through that process, and it's not forever.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that, through my 20s and 30s, I was investing, but I was still enjoying my life. I still traveled. I still, bought the bottle of wine. I still did the things that I wanted to do, drove the cars that I wanted to drive, and did the things that I wanted to do. But I was careful with my money without throwing it away. But at the same time, I wasn't so much of a tight ass that I did nothing.
Yeah.
Because you still have to enjoy your life. You only get one chance, right? You only get this one life. So you still want to enjoy your life, but there are ways of getting that balance, and everyone's going to be different.
So it's more so in the sense of getting in the habit of just noticing moments where you can spend less. So it's not necessarily like an overall rule. You find your moments where you can splurge a little bit and then, maybe set a certain amount of money aside to do that so you don't feel bad about it. But you're saying more so just getting in the habit of kind of becoming aware of those little things where you can cut down and they're not as necessary.
That's right.
Okay.
A long time ago, I taught myself this little phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that applies to so many things. And if you find yourself at the cash register at Harvey Norman or JB Hi-Fi with some gadget that you probably don't need, just ask yourself the question, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because it's on sale, right, and it says it was $1,000, now it's $700, you're saving $300. You're not actually saving $300. You're spending $700, right?
Yeah.
So just be mindful of these things as well. And look, I think this is the delayed gratification.
Yeah.
The thing that we keep talking about is that you can build yourself a property portfolio that can give you untold wealth. There's insane amounts of money to be built over the long term with property that can buy all of the gadgets that you want, right? And probably by the time you get to that point, the gadgets are going to be a lot cooler and better than they are now, right? In 20 years, we'll have robots that can clean our houses for us and do, washing and cooking for us and things like that. But, I think that's the point is just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? So I think the key thing to put all of this into perspective is to understand your goals and what's important to you. Because if the goals aren't strong enough, then these little shiny objects that are going to appear along the way, a discounted laptop or a holiday that's coming up on sale or a new car that's coming out, all of these things are going to distract you from your long-term goals because your goals aren't clear enough in the first place. So if the goals are really, really solid and really clear, then whenever you get these little distractions from all of these companies out there who are trying to get into your bank account, then you have that willpower to say no. No, I don't need that new car. I can wait. I keep my 5-year-old car for a little bit longer and I'll upgrade it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't need a new phone because the one I've had for 2 years still works, right? Little things that you can make these decisions along the way that are going to help you get into those habits. Like you mentioned, getting into good money habits is really the first step. A lot of people don't want to do that because they're comfortable. But again, it's finding out how long you need to be uncomfortable for so that you can be more comfortable for the longer term.
So speaking of being uncomfortable, a lot of people I know are too embarrassed and do get quite uncomfortable for things to do with asking for a discount. You're not one of those people. So Luke, when it comes to saving, what do you think is more important, pride and ego or saving money?
Well, look, I think it's an obvious answer. Pride and ego should not come into it. Whenever you're buying anything, whether it's buying something off eBay or off Marketplace or Gumtree secondhand, or if you're buying something at one of the big retail stores, you are using your money that you've worked for, or you've earned that money in your business or in some other way. So handing that money over to somebody is a business transaction. So as far as I'm concerned, a business transaction is purely financial. There's no emotion that comes into it. So if somebody's selling something, I should be asking for a discount.
Okay.
Why should I pay retail price for something? Right? And my view on this is, again, another quote that I've had in my head for many years: if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
And
okay.
it applies as that. So the same thing is, if you go to a store and you're looking at something, look online, see if you can find it cheaper. And then you can present your phone to them in the screen. So again, you've got your little computer in your hand. You can go to the salesperson and say, this store is selling it for $200 cheaper. And they'll often match it or beat that price. So especially electronics and things like that, consumer goods, you can't really go to Coles and say, milk's on sale over at Woolworths. Can you match the price? You just have to go to Woolworths and buy it.
Yeah.
But whenever you're buying, things like cars and you're buying big ticket items like a fridge or a washing machine or stereo, whatever it might be, look around for the best deal, because going out and finding that could save you hundreds of dollars that you've already worked for. You've already worked for that money, and we're talking about after-tax money. So you've already earned that money and paid tax on it.
Yeah.
Have a burning question you want answered on an upcoming episode? Each month, we take questions from our listeners and put them to our resident expert, Luke Harris. With more than 2 decades of residential and commercial investment experience under his belt, Luke has seen the best and the worst of the property market. Visit investorintelligence.com.au/questions and ask us today.
So going off that, being in a country that's not well known for things like haggling, I think businesses kind of know that they can lean on that and setting a price that they know people are going to pay, because most of the time people just don't argue with that. But would you say a lot of people would be surprised that it's not only more available as an option, but a lot of big businesses actually do that because they would rather get the sale than lose out on,
They're not, yeah. And I think understanding the business world, if you look at big companies, and we're using electronics companies, things like Harvey Norman's and JB Hi-Fi's and the good guys, oftentimes they work on a volume basis. So it's not how much profit they make off each TV, it's how many TVs they sell in a month. Depends on how much they buy the TVs for next month. So if they sell a certain volume, maybe their wholesale price becomes a little bit cheaper.
Right.
So it's not about how much they get on each individual item, because it's a fast moving consumer good. It's something that they're going to keep selling. They're going to keep selling more of. So whenever you go in and you can actually say to them, is this the best price that you can do? Often they'll say, look at their computer screen. They go, yeah, we can probably knock another $10 off. Great. I've just made $10 that I wasn't. If you're going to buy the thing anyway, get the best price.
Yeah.
If you need the thing and you've decided that you're going to make that decision to buy the thing, ask for the best price.
Yeah.
And then ask if they can do any better. If they can't, that's great. They don't care, right? They're getting paid an hourly rate. Sometimes they're getting paid a commission on sales rather than, I know that a lot of these companies, they have a volume. So if you sell doesn't matter what you sell or how much you sell it for, but if you sell $10,000 a day or $20,000 a day or $30,000, there's different bonuses for the sales team. So keep that in mind. They don't care how much profit they make on each individual item. It's how much volume they move through the store.
Interesting.
So those types of things, again, understanding how that works. Now, when you go and ask for a discount, most of the time people will say no. You go to Myer or ask at a shop, can I get a discount on this shirt? Often they go, no, it was on sale last week, but it's not now. Not much you can do about that.
Yeah.
But if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
Right? Often you'll find that there's something else that you might not be aware of. I've done this before. I've gone into clothing stores and go, how much is this? Because I can't find the price tag. And they go, oh, this is the price, but if you buy two, it's this price. And it's not mentioned anywhere in the store, but there's some deal or some online special that they've got.
Right.
That you don't know about. And sometimes just by talking to the salesperson, you can find out, if you buy two, you get an extra $50 off or something like that.
True, yeah.
Little things that you can do just by having a conversation with the salesperson. Again, these people are getting paid to work there most of the time, and they don't really care about whether they charge you full price or give you a discount. But people aren't just going to give you a discount because they like you.
Right.
So you generally have to ask, and that's where you have to decide, okay, is my ego too important to me to ask? Again, you're not doing it to rip off the salesperson or rip off the business. You're just asking, can you do a better price? Now, if they say no, that's great. You can make a decision whether you want to pay that or not pay that. But the thing is getting in that habit. Right? You can have a bit of fun with it as well. I like to have a bit of fun with it. It's not me, having this big negotiation with them across the counter going, well, come on, I want an extra $5 off that TV. It's literally just asking a casual question, can you do a better price? And generally the salespeople, they want to help you. And when they're talking to an individual, knowing that they work for a large company, often they'll side with you as the purchaser because the salesperson's probably in the same boat. They want to try and get a good deal on stuff when they shop as well.
Yeah.
So they can often resonate with you when you're looking for a discount.
And the worst they can say is no.
The worst they can say is no, and you don't need to feel bad if they say no.
Yeah.
It's part of your business process that you go through when you're purchasing something. Treat it like a business. Every purchase that you make, like I said, you don't do it on milk and things like that at the supermarket. You can look for the catalogs and do 5 minutes of research online as to what's on sale and which shopping supermarket you go to. But again, it's just understanding where things are.
There is a real stigma around being a tight ass, isn't there? Like, do you reckon that's where the embarrassment sort of comes from?
Yeah, and that's fine. If people want to have that stigma, that's okay. If people would prefer to pay full retail price for everything because they're too embarrassed to ask for a discount, that's okay. And businesses know that.
Yeah. Businesses lean into that.
If I go into a store and I ask for a discount, or if I go into a car dealership and I ask for a discount and they say no, I'm okay with that. Because 5 minutes after I've walked away, they've forgotten about me. I've forgotten about them. And there's no hard feelings because it's a business transaction.
Yeah, they don't go home, tell their family and their friends
about this guy came in today and asked for a discount on a new car. It's not a thing. It's not something to be worried about. And if your ego is going to get in the way, then you need to really have a look at yourself, I would say. And as an investor, you need to be mindful of every dollar that comes into and goes out of your bank account. Treat your investing like a business. And until you get to that point where you are treating your investing as a business and you're treating it seriously, then you're probably just kidding yourself, really, if I'm going to be brutally honest. If you're going to be a serious investor, you need to watch every dollar that comes in and goes out of your bank account. Be smart with your money. Put your ego to the side, get the best deals you can on things. And if you do that, every little dollar that you save is another dollar that can go towards your investing. And of course, investing can compound over time. And you might save $50 a week on your current expenses, but $50 a week really adds up. It's an extra $2,500 a year. $2,500 a year invested can give you growth that you can compound on and get even further wealth. So, you can always make money, but you can't get the time back.
And start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable just every now and then.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talking of, things like Coles and Woolworths, I think you've got some really good tips for, things that you can look out for in something as necessary as food shopping. So talk me through that.
Look, both of the big supermarkets have got apps. And they often have, like your everyday rewards and your flybys and things like that. you can go onto those apps and they often have specials for their subscribers, right? So here's personalized deals for you. I buy blueberries, right? I love blueberries. I've got them growing up at Airlie Beach now, and we got our first blueberries the other day. But, often you can pay $5 or $6 for a tub of blueberries. They're really expensive.
So expensive.
But sometimes they have them for $2.50, but it's only on the app. So you have to scan your app when you go to the checkout. But on the shelf, it's still $5 or $6. So they have deals for people that are on their little subscriber list. So taking 2 seconds to look at your app to see what's on special when you're going there, you can say, oh, they've actually got blueberries. Little things like this. People will laugh at this going, Luke's talking about saving $2.50 on blueberries. How ridiculous. But if you'd buy them every week for a whole year, and that's just one of my products that I buy. Now we're growing them, which is even better. In Melbourne, when I was growing blueberries, nothing. They didn't grow. It was too cold. They hated it. Up at Airlie Beach, they love it, and they're growing. Lots of sunshine. But that's the thing. So, every little dollar that you can save actually counts. And it doesn't matter how much wealth I've built or how much money I make. I'm still going to look for those good deals because I've got in that habit of doing that. Now, again, that's not being a tight ass. Nobody even knows. Now everybody knows because they're listening to this, but nobody knows that I'm going through my app and I'm going, oh, that's a smart decision. I'm just going to buy that. That's not something that affects anybody. Nobody even needs to know that you're scanning things through the app. The thing is looking at the catalogs, like I mentioned earlier, things like they've got meat on special. If you're cooking for the family on the weekend, you can look at the catalogs. It takes 5 seconds. Their websites will tell you the prices, what's on special, go and buy. There. It's very easy to go to the supermarket without a plan and just put everything in your cart that you need, and then you walk out and whatever the price is, the price is. Right? And often people have done that and they find they've got $200 or $300. They don't really know how it got that high, but it just did. Right? You could find that there's very easily $50 in one shop, especially if you're shopping for a family, just because you weren't smart about it. You weren't checking the prices. The other thing that you can do, especially in the shopping centres, is that often they have prices for a particular product. And with inflation, like chocolate's a perfect example. I remember where, as a teenager, a block of chocolate used to be 250 grams. Right? It was a big block of chocolate. And funny enough, the price of a chocolate block is very similar to what it is now. And they've done that deliberately because they want people to be able to afford it. So they can get addicted to the sugar and then buy it next time they go shopping, right? But the thing that's happened over time with inflation is the block of chocolate has actually reduced in size. They reduced it from 250 grams down to 220. Then it reduced to 200, then 180. Now they're 160 grams for a block of chocolate. Similar price, but they've reduced how much you get for that price. So one thing that you can look at, doesn't matter what you're looking at, is the price per 100 grams. So if you're looking at fruit and veggies, for example, or if you're looking at similar products, but there's 4 to choose from, look at the price per 100 grams. Rather than look at their sale price. You might find a $3 product and a $4 product, but you get more per 100 grams with the $4 product. So whilst it might be more expensive, you get more value. So understanding these little tips, there's plenty of websites that you can go to about being frugal with your money and being mindful of all of these things. But just little tips like that. If you go to the supermarket and you're looking at the price per 100 grams or the price per dozen or the price per whatever, you can actually make sure that you're understanding what the real price is for that. Just because something's cheaper, it doesn't mean it's better value.
And I know someone listening or people listening to this will think, oh, that's just too much effort. But I think if you get in the habit of those little things, it really just becomes habit.
It's exactly,
and it takes extra effort.
It takes 2 seconds. You're looking at the price on the little shelf, and it just says the price per 100 grams or the price per whatever, and you can actually compare a lot easier rather than just comparing the actual end sale price. Again, it's just being smart with your money. It's your money. You've worked for it. Be smart with it. Don't just give it away to these big firms. Again, be mindful of how these companies operate, and then you can use that information to your advantage. When I'm going shopping, my partner and I, we look at things like washing powder and dishwashing tablets and all these things that you're going to buy anyway, toilet paper, all these things. They have huge markups on these things. When you're having a look at sales, you often see things at Woolworths and Coles 50% off or 40% off because they're on sale. It's not that they're on sale. they were just priced too high in the first place so that they could put them on sale, right? So
More attractive.
they're still making a profit, right? So all of the prices are retail prices. They will discount those retail prices. But if you're buying retail, then you're probably paying too much, right? So if you know that you're probably going to use toilet paper in the next 12 months, or dishwashing tablets, or
Hopefully
washing
you do.
powder.
Yeah.
If you know that you're going to use these things, look out for them when they're on special. Buy them when they're on special.
Yeah.
Right? Don't go in and pay retail price when it's 100% asking price. Buy them when they're 40% off or 30% off, and stock up on them.
So what about then clothes and electrical items, which are sometimes a need and then other times they're just a want? So what are your tips with sort of striking that balance and knowing when it's a need and when it's a want?
Yes. Well, look, if there's some things that you're going to need because, again, eventually your phone's going to break, you're going to need a new one. Same thing with a TV. Well, I've had TVs that have lasted 10 or 12 years and then eventually given them away. And that's the other thing as well is, don't just throw things away. Try and upcycle or recycle things.
Yeah.
I hate wastage, right? So if there's ever an old electrical item or anything, I try and give it away or recycle it. I just hate wasting things. But one of the things that I do when I know that I've got a purchase coming up, clothes, let's say I'm buying a new suit or whatever it might be, get on mailing lists, right? You get subscribed to the company's mailing lists, and I've got an email account that I just use for subscriptions, right?
Yep.
A lot of people do because they don't want spam,
Yeah.
right? And I go through, if I'm going to Myer to buy some cologne or a birthday present, often birthday presents and things coming up for people, subscribe to that, because then if you're going to that store, just look at your emails and go, oh, well, they sent out an email 2 days ago saying they've got 30% off this. So you can scroll through your emails and find out, well, I'm about to buy this thing, or I need a new jacket, or I need some new shoes. These are perfect things. You know that you're going to buy them sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. If you know you're going to need shoes, get on a mailing list for the shoe company that you like.
Yeah, that's a good one.
When their sales come up, then you can go and buy them. Again, big ticket items, fridges and washing machines, those things as well. If you know that your washing machine's about to kick the bucket, and you need a new one, right? Often if you're trying to, get ahead, buy a secondhand one. Find someone that's giving one away.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need a brand new one often, right? Sometimes if let's say it's your car, for example, and you need your car to get to work, you need your car to be reliable. If it's a washing machine, you can probably deal with a secondhand one. But if you know it's going to kick the bucket in the next 12 months, get on a mailing list, look out for the one that you want.
Yep.
When it's on special, you can buy it.
Yeah.
And often the best time to do that is when you're looking at a particular model for a TV, washing machine, or a fridge, is when there's a new one coming out. They'll really heavily discount the old one. And there's nothing wrong with it, it's still brand new, but it's just the 2021 or 2022 version because the 23 version's coming out.
Yeah.
And it's not because there's anything really different. If you look at the new iPhone versus the last one, there's only a couple of little tweaks.
Yeah.
But the older one is cheaper, right? Because they're trying to get rid of that older one. It's the same thing when it comes to electronics. But my suggestion for that, get on the mailing list, just subscribe. Often they'll have a discount for new subscribers.
Yeah, yep.
Clothing stores are big for that, for example. 10% off for new subscribers, or here's a $20 code for new subscribers. Things like that they just give away. And again, it's really easy to do it. They put your email in, they send you a promo code, you put that into the shopping cart, and you've just made $20.
Yeah.
If it's something that you're going to buy anyway. But that's the thing, is if you have all of the stores that you buy from, if you like shopping at West Elm, or if you like shopping at Kmart or whatever, subscribe to their list, and often you'll get things that you won't see anywhere else.
I love that tip. I'm definitely going to do that. That's good as well, because that gets you into the habit of thinking ahead as well. Yeah.
And that also applies for things like I mentioned before, things like, dishwashing tablets. They're super expensive.
They are,
to go and buy a little bag of those is $45. But they're always on sale at 50% off at one of the supermarkets.
Yeah.
Right? So why would you go and pay $45 for something that's $20? You're literally giving away money.
Yeah.
If you're not smart about it. So again, like you said, thinking ahead is really important.
Yeah.
You can go and buy washing powder every fortnight and pay full price, or you can try and buy a bigger bucket that's going to last you 6 months. And that's a perfect example. If you look at the price per 100 grams or the price per kilo, you can find that it's substantially cheaper to buy it in bulk. And those are the types of things that make sense when you're shopping for that, especially if you've got a family and there's a lot of people to feed and clothe and and keep clean.
For sure, yeah, definitely. So would you say through everything we've spoken about today, it's not only good to, like, a good way to learn money habits, but also learning the value of money? Because as I said, I was very lucky when I was younger that I was taught the value of money through my dad, but I know so many people who weren't. And again, that's carried over in their life. So now they can't save. They're sort of living paycheck to paycheck. And they're really not sort of thinking ahead, and that's kind of hindering them.
This is part of what we do here at the Property Mentors, is to get people to think about the future and think about what's my life going to look like in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years' time. And really this being a tight arse is a very small part of this overall wealth creation plan. Being aware of where your money is at any point in time, how much you've got in your bank account, how much you get paid, where your money's going. Like I said, putting a budget together and knowing that, really first step. But for people that haven't been through that process of really understanding their money, it all just seems too hard. I'm never going to get ahead. My rent's too high. I don't get paid enough. These are things that you can control. Now, when I was younger, I was growing up, and mum and dad gave me $2 to wash the car. I mowed the lawn because I liked it. I should have asked for money.
Yeah.
But for those that have read my books, you'll see that I went to the local swap meet and sold things. I had garage sales and had the bulk rubbish collection, around the suburb, people throwing away chairs and tables. And I'd go, that's a perfectly good chair. I can sell that. So I'd drag it back to the garage, and mum and dad are like, what is this kid doing? And I've been like that forever, and they know that. But, those sorts of things is, there is value in that sort of stuff. So I thought, well, hey, I can sell that. And I sold a chair for $10. So being aware of your money and also looking at options to make more money. So if you're on a fixed salary and you really do want to get ahead, sometimes people will say, well, I'm not going to work a part-time job. I don't want to do that. I'm better than that. Or I'm not going to drive Uber. That's for other people. For me, that's your ego getting in the way. If you really want to get ahead, like I said, look 5, 10, 15, 20 years, where are you at now? And we're in a really good country, right? To be able to, I would say we're in the best country in the world to be able to do these things. We've got a fantastic environment. People that move here from overseas come to Australia and they grab it by the horns and they go, right? Yeah. They set up businesses and they take advantage of the opportunities here. And I think us Australians, we've grown up with a really good environment for work and really good healthcare and all of these things. The ability for us to go and earn an extra bit of cash if we want to, on things like Airtasker or even Airbnb. If you've got a spare room, find a way to get an extra bit of money to get you ahead. If you make an extra $100 a week, it's an extra $5,000 a year. If you can save $100 a week, that's out of your current budget. That's great. And there's $200 a week. And if you can save $50 on expenses you're already paying for, there's $250 a week you just found.
Yeah.
And it might not necessarily mean that it's a huge sacrifice for you. And keep in mind, it's not forever. So if you're going through this process of saying, well, look, I'm going to knuckle down for a couple of years and really save a deposit, that's something that's going to help you for the rest of your life. So yes, short-term pain, long-term gain. But the thing is, if you don't do this, no one's going to do it for you. And having people like mentors here at the Property Mentors to guide you through this process, keep you accountable, keep you on track for that long-term goal. These little tweaks that you make and these little sacrifices you make now can pay dividends into the future. And, investing's for life. Yeah. Once you actually get started with your investing, it's super exciting to see what you can do. And the change that we've seen in some of our members over the last, 5 to 10 years has been insane. For people that have actually thought, I can't do this. I can't invest in property. I'm not going to get ahead. I've been saving for all this time and I'm frustrated. I'm not getting ahead. But what's the alternative? The alternative is you continue to work and keep doing what you're doing. And that's what they say, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Yeah. So, if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. So ask for help. If you think this is too hard, or if you don't know where to get started, or how do I even review my numbers? How do I do a budget? All of these things are available to you. Google it, find out how to do it. Yeah. Right. And focus your energy and your time on learning these things.
I think that's a really good point to make, is if people want to get better at something like saving, I think people just get in their head, well, like, well, I'm just bad at it, full stop. But
Correct.
you don't have to do it by yourself. There are people that can help you with that.
That's right. And look, you don't need to pay a third-party company to do the budget for you. There's companies out there that will do a budget for you, but they charge you for that, right? There's government websites that you can go to that teach you how to budget your money.
Yeah.
Right. And there's spreadsheets and formulas on there that will calculate it, and you can find out where your money's going. Shop around for different electricity providers, shop around for gas providers, look at where you can save money on fuel, because fuel's a big thing. Fuel prices can vary by 5 or 10 cents a litre.
Yeah.
All of these little things that you do, just being smart with your money. You've worked hard to earn every dollar that you have in your bank account. Make sure that you're not just giving that away.
Yeah.
So I know we've jumped around quite a lot on the call today, but there's a lot of different things that come into this with, being a tight arse. But being a tight arse is a cheeky name that you give yourself, not that someone else is going to give you.
Yeah. So any last tips? I know there's one in particular that you and I have spoken about off air before. It's the win theory.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the win theory is just something that really sort of encapsulates everything that we've covered on the call today, is making more money, saving money, delayed gratification, making sacrifices, and just really doing WIN, whatever is necessary, right? It's the win theory. To win, you've got to do whatever is necessary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, like I said, eating 2-minute noodles, but it also doesn't mean going out fine dining every week.
Right.
It's finding the balance that suits you on where you sit as far as how badly do you want to achieve your goals and what are you prepared to do to get there.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, with the Band-Aid idea, you can either have a short period of time where you go really hard at saving and earn as much money as you can and do whatever is necessary to achieve those goals. If you don't want to do that, no one's going to force you to do it, right? But this is the thing, is if you really want to achieve these goals and you've got this burning desire to become successful, no matter what you do, whether it's in property or shares or however you want to invest your money, do whatever is necessary.
Yeah.
And make those short-term sacrifices for that long-term gain. If you talk to anyone that's been investing in property for a long time, they will tell you that they had to make sacrifices to get there. It's very difficult to go and do first-class travel around the world, buy fancy cars and yachts and big homes, and build your portfolio at the same time. Unless you're one of those rare people that's on $500,000 a year and you've got so much money to burn, it's not funny. But most people are not earning that, and they don't have excess cash to throw around. And a lot of people listening to this are going to be living paycheck to paycheck and really want to know, how do I get ahead? Now, being a tight ass, like I said, that's a name you give yourself. It's not something that you are not a tight ass as a person. You are doing whatever is necessary for you. Stop thinking about and worrying about what other people think of you by asking for a discount or telling your friends, no, you can't go out for dinner, let's cook at home. Or bringing a bottle of wine instead of going out.
Yeah.
Little things like that. You tell people you've got goals that you want to achieve, you're working hard on this, and don't follow the crowd.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to be different. It's okay to be a tight ass. It's okay to ask for discounts. It's okay to save money on things. It's also okay to give it away.
Sure, yeah.
There's plenty of businesses out there that will take your money.
Yeah.
There's plenty of places that will take your money. And there's a quote that I read many, many years ago. A fool and his money, or a fool and their money, are easily parted. So, that's a very old quote, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You got money to give away, somebody will be there to take it from you.
Yeah.
And so, you need to be in control of your finances, understand where your money's going, and really do whatever is necessary, because the results from investing in property and building long-term wealth are so powerful, and they can give you so many options that you never thought possible. And some of the members that we work with here at the Property Mentors that have gone through that process and are now really financially free. Being financially free, financially independent is something it's a term that gets thrown around quite a lot. But if you really think about what that means, it means you don't have to worry about money.
Yeah.
Having the time and the money to do what you want to do when you want to do it is hard to really describe that feeling.
Yeah.
And not many people achieve it. But even if you get close to that and you can improve your financial situation on from where you're at today over the next 2, 5, 10 years or more, it's going to improve over time. But you've got to take a slow and steady approach to it. And that means learning those money habits, implementing it into your day-to-day life, and sticking to your long-term goals.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of that and sort of breaking down a few of those stigmas. So thank you for breaking that down. I know a lot of people are going to find that really helpful because, as I said, I know so many people who need these tips. But thank you, Luke, for your time today.
No worries. Thanks, Phoebe.
If you found this episode or any of our episodes helpful, please make sure to share and leave a rating to help us reach more people on their investing journeys. And of course, subscribe to be notified when new episodes drop. Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at Investor Intelligence Podcast. You can find links to our other socials in the show notes, including a link to the Property Mentors weekly blog. If you're ready to get your property portfolio in shape for financial freedom, check out Luke's latest book, Property Fit. You can get yourself a copy at www.propertyfitbook.com.au.